Hey, welcome everybody to the Really Charlie podcast. Today was a good day. You know, just shortly ago, we had Danny Gomes on the Really Charlie podcast. And now we're going to move on to Renee Ledbetter, dear friend of mine, definitely doing some great things, advocating for a lot of people, um, and especially the youth, whether it's at church, whether it's, in her profession. She's definitely a strong advocate. She's always volunteering, doing the best she can to make sure that she's reaching out to those kids in need, and trying to make sure that they have some kind of structure in their lives to move forward. And when I reached out to her, I was kind of reaching out to her and a very close friend of hers and try to get them on here because they do so much for the city and especially the youth. Sometimes the youth are out there trying to figure out things on their own, and it's great to know that we have some adults that are out there, some mentors that are out there, and trying to get them on track to do their schoolwork, to participate in extracurricular activities, whether it be at school, whether it be at church, whether it be one of the community centers in the area. But that's what Renee does for us. He's one of those people that we can count on. So I'm just so happy to get her on here, and she'll be on here momentarily, so we can kind of just talk and have a nice conversation about herself, and it's sometimes it's underestimated of what people like her do. Just think about it. You're working for a living, and then you're also working just as hard, and trying to make sure that kids of the city are getting a fair share, or getting an opportunity to do something else than to get in trouble. So this is what Renee does for us in the city, and can't wait to get her on here. Let's see. In the next couple of weeks, we have quite a few guests coming on, and I can't wait to see, and listen to some of their definitely endeavors, and just inspirational stories. We kind of shortchange. Um, we shortchange what we have in the city. We don't know some of the blessings that we have that are in the city or was in the city, and there's quite a bit of interesting people that are out there, and I'm trying to reach out to those people to make sure that we hear their story, we get their story on video, so they can continue to inspire people even when they're not speaking. So uh, Monday, this coming Monday, we're gonna have PJ Pina on here from Hyannis. He's now living in Texas, but we're gonna have him on here. But today's day is Renee's day. This is going to be Renee's podcast, and we're going to get her on here. So Renee, I hope you're ready for this podcast. I hope your hair is done. Hope your makeup is done. Make sure that you get ready for this Really Charlie podcast, because I know you. So I'm going to be good. I'm going to be a good man, a good friend, and be real nice. All right. Bear with me, folks. Gonna wait for Renee to get ready and set up. How about that NFL draft? How'd y'all think about it? It was great, wasn't it? Anticipation was well worth it. All right, without any further ado, Renee Ledbetter.
Can you hear me?
I could hear you.
Okay. Sorry, I was having
Hey,
technical difficulties.
you was?
Yes.
What? What's technical difficulties got to do with your hair, your makeup? You know,
This is how I ran in the house. That's
so
why I'm sweating.
you're sweaty.
Hmm.
All right. Well, see, I got you working hard on the Really Charlie podcast. Got you working hard.
Right.
Speaking of working hard, for years and years, you have done some tremendous things in our area, in our city, um, and you've been a voice for the youth of the city, advocating for them, make sure they get on programs or involved in different programs. And I want to say that I'm happy that you're doing it. I'm very proud of what you did. You're not getting paid for it, and but you keep doing it. And I'm not saying I'm not going to tell how many years. I'm not going to say that because I don't, you know, although you are a decent age, I don't want you to think that I'm calling you old or anything.
No, because we're like the same age. So, I've been doing it just as many years as you've been making a difference in the community.
Oh, so you're 25? That's
Right.
awesome.
Right.
Yeah, see,
Right. Right.
awesome. It's amazing what two 25-year-olds can do. It's
Right.
amazing. Yeah,
It is.
you know, but you're doing a great job, and
I
I
appreciate that.
yeah, we have you know, one of our close friends, Norma. She chickened out. She didn't want to come on the podcast. You
She's
know,
actually in Florida with her granddaughter for a cheerleading competition right now.
well,
So,
she could have did it on the sideline, sit in the bleachers. You
yeah.
know, she's always taking selfies. All she has to do is put her phone up like this. And talk to me on the Really
Right.
Charlie podcast.
Right. She's probably sleeping, poor thing.
Well, she's been doing it a long time too. She's just.
Right.
I
She's been
remember.
doing a lot for a lot of years and doesn't get the acknowledgement or appreciation she deserves. So,
Do no? Do you remember her station wagon?
no, because I think I was in Dallas when she had a station wagon.
Nope, you wasn't.
And I wasn't? Wait,
Nope.
do I? I don't remember. Well, maybe. I don't know. I don't remember cars.
All
I'm
right.
not good with that.
Well, that vehicle was loaded with kids
Yeah.
before the seatbelt laws, and she put those kids in that car and made
Yeah.
sure they got to practice.
Yeah.
So it's very nice. So we got our first comment here from Mandy. So we're gonna talk. What's up, Renee, Charlie? It was really great seeing you and Michelle yesterday. You guys look fantastic. Thank you,
Hi.
Mandy.
Hi, Mandy.
Thank
How are you?
yes. She was hanging out with her son, doing great things, and then I seen her son. He was, she posted some nice pictures of him, and that kid's getting around. He's like a politician. He's like royalty. Mandy, you're doing a great job. Keep your son involved. Make sure he sees a lot of things in life, and I hope that I hope things. He's just a great kid. Have you met
Yeah.
her son?
Not since he was a baby, when he was
Okay,
younger.
all right,
Yeah. Not
great
since
kid.
then. But that's what we have to do. We have to keep our kids in a space where they can someday take over. Like Shane Burgo, who is now going to be running for city councilor. Um, Years ago, people wouldn't have thought he would be where he is today,
Yeah,
in the state of mind. It just takes a few people, it just takes a village to kind of help surround yourself around a child. And whether I get paid for it or not, I try to do that with every young person I come across, um, because it matters what they do with their life and how they contribute to the community. I have my own personal my five children that I had myself, and they contribute in their way, and they're all working with well, most of them are working with human services
Okay.
and doing working with youth, young people and families, and trying to help make a difference in that way. So I think it's important for all of us to surround our youth with as much support, encouragement, and love as we can give them, because that's all they ask for. They don't ask for much.
Awesome.
So,
Um, you before I retired, you were doing the outreach program, and going in and out of neighborhoods, just trying to talk to people. Um, and was that well? I don't think anything's difficult for you to try to reach out to people because you've been doing it so long. And but I felt personally that outreach program was kind of shortchanging you guys, kind of restricting you for the most part. When y'all getting pulled back by the bosses to be, um, does that get frustrating?
yeah, it does get frustrating. I mean, recently I've been the director since 2019. So I've been pretty much able to have autonomy on what we do. I don't really think it was so much as the higher ups as it was the person overseeing the program.
Okay,
So now we're able to we offer clinical services in for Shannon Youth only. We now offer we work with in partnership with UMass Dartmouth for the high set program. So we're
A-
able to do that. We've been able
actually,
to partner with other programs as well. So
Renee, shame on me. I'm a bad host, and what I would try to do is could you give us a little brief, bio about yourself? Um, I don't
oh yeah,
see
I
any.
forgot to send you my resume.
That's all right.
I forgot. So basically, I have grown up in this area. I haven't lived here my whole life, but I grew up here. I moved away when I graduated from college. I went to Texas for about 12 years, and I came back home. Um, when I was in Texas, I worked with at-risk youth, what I'm doing now, a little bit more at risk, different city. I worked in the school systems out there as well. So I was the program coordinator for the after school program that dealt with the youth that were considered at risk because they were in an impoverished area. It was
Okay.
probably the lowest economic area in the city of Dallas, one of the lowest. Um, so I did that until I came back home. And when I came back home, I started working humble beginnings again. Like I had to start over with my five children by myself. And I worked for a law firm, which I won't name, but it did teach me a lot about real estate law. So that's the one thing I got from that. Um, but it was a very racist environment. So I had applied for the school department when I came back, so I had to wait several months. But I finally did get my shot to work for the school department, and I started there working in the dean's. Well, I worked for the academic support program at the administration building, and then I went to the dean's office in the high school and worked with the dean. They cut my position, so I ended up at Upward Bound at UMass Dartmouth. So I was there for about 12 years. Um, and then my life's journey took another turn, and someone asked me if I would like to work for this program that I'm directing now, and that was like in 2015, towards the end of it. And I took a chance and I said yes, and I started my work with what is now known as the New Bedford Shannon program, and it was called Hope at that time, the Hope Collaborative, and um, began my journey with that, with the program at that time. And since then, there's been several changes, a lot of great things happening. We we can service any kid in New Bedford. It doesn't matter who you are. It's not a gang involved program. It's a program with youth that may be at risk of maybe dropping out of school, at risk of, you know, I don't know, getting themselves into trouble. It could be anything. It's not necessarily just a gang involved program. So we service any youth from the age 10 through 24, which that has changed since when I started. Because when I started, it was 13 through 17.
Hmm.
Um, so now I have 14 people on the team, and
What was the reason for the changes from for
oops,
you? What
the
was
re,
it? Was it something that you the need was a little bit better? I mean, needed to be addressed from 18 to 20. Would you say four?
10 to 24,
10 to 24.
right?
So it's 10 to 24, and you
Mm-hmm.
had it from 13 to 17 previously.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So to get the older kids involved, was there a stronger need for that? You know what was going on?
Well, I think that yes, there was a strong need for that. Um, our biggest goal, we have two goals, right? So, like I tell some of the kids, there's 3 yards you can go into: your yard, the prison yard, or the graveyard. So our goal is to keep them in their own yard, out of prison, out of the graves. Um, and we were seeing a lot of the older youth trauma ridden and not being able to not manipulate, but maneuver within the system in
Hmm.
order for them to get the things that they needed, like their education, a good paying job, something that's going to help them sustain themselves. And a lot of them were looking for somebody to say, I know you're worth something. And, you are loved and you are somebody that we want to invest our time into. So I think that age group right there, I mean, I would even go as far as saying that it should even extend out to 30 at sometimes, because right now in the climate that we're in, it's hard for anyone above the age of 18 up until the age of 30 until they can kind of get themselves established. So, I mean, we're not going to do that because it's not
Hmm.
something that the state would allow. But for me, youth to me is anyone 30 and under, anyone that needs the extra support in order for themselves to make themselves successful. So.
So is it based on just referrals and like?
Well, some of it's based on referrals. Some of it's just with the outreach team that's in the community. They see a kid has a need, or the kid will say, "I need some help. Can you help me out?" And so we go from there. Some of it's um, referrals, probably like it could be from the courts, it could be from DCF, it could be from the schools. People that are trying to do prevention. I know now recently the police department has started referring some young people in order to keep them out of trouble. Um, so we're prevention and intervention for the Shannon program. So
Good.
we try to prevent the kids from getting into any trouble, and when we respond to critical incidences as well. There's a lot of times there'll be kids outside, and I like to say this because they'll if there's a group of kids hanging outside, a lot of people like to call the police. Don't call the police.
Yeah.
Or if you do, just ask them to send an outreach worker. Let us, have them get off the porch or do whatever it is, stop making noise or whatever it is that is disturbing the neighborhood. Let us deal with it so that way the emergencies can stay emergencies. And that can be dealt with by a group of outreach workers.
Yeah. Sometimes I don't know why, that the old school ways are kind of forgotten when it comes to, seeing things going on in the community, trying to find out what's going on, and sometimes a kid may just need a conversation,
Right.
and when that conversation becomes, when that conversation is with a neighbor, sometimes you never know. It may be something that is more valuable than anything, but this day and age, something you find that people just don't want to get involved. Just a little leery about getting involved. But
Yeah.
I mean, you look back in our lifetimes, people we could people we could talk to were probably every other house.
Right.
Um, and
Well,
as you
before
can
you
see,
got home, you got in trouble all the way up the street if you did something wrong.
yeah, yeah,
Was the difference, I think.
yeah.
Um, Now it's like you can't really say anything to just anyone's kid. So,
How do
um,
you do you reach out to kids virtually through social media? Is that something that your
well,
organization tries to do? Because
well, they
that's where they're
do.
at.
Yeah, the outreach workers do have friends. They're social media friends with a lot of the kids that we work with. But it's not like we don't have a social media page because we don't want them to become targets of look at these kids. Like we don't want them to be labeled. So we try to stay away from social media for our program anyway because we don't want the participants, the youth to be labeled as, oh, those kids are in that program, or
Hmm.
let's watch out for little Johnny because I saw his comment on the Shannon page. And we just, in order to keep the youth that we service safe, we rather not do that.
Okay.
I know that's where they're at, but that's why the outreach workers, caseworkers have personal contact information with them on social media,
Hmm.
um, so that way it's more private.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I'm only saying that because I know there are things that keep your hands tied when it comes to that electronic communication with someone,
Right,
or with someone's child. I definitely know that, but sometimes, or at least if you have that as an avenue, um, because that's where the kids are, and they're expressing a whole lot on social media that
right,
it's real personal, and sometimes we need to pay attention to that a little bit. Even
right,
if even if it's hey, I know a mutual friend of that kid. Let me reach out to that mutual friend and say, hey, can you why don't you kind of steer this to your friends? Give this to your friend. We got a great program where that may help them out and with
hmm
whatever they're going through. So,
yeah,
but
we do that a lot too. So, um, when on their on their personal page or a private message, but the one thing we are not trying to do is, like you say, get these kids caught up because a lot of times social media gets them caught up
uh,
in situations that you know p- can be life changing for them and not in a good way.
the really Charlie podcast. I'm trying to go worldwide, man. I wanna talk to a lot of people. But for right now, I can only deal with the community that we have. this Facebook community, this StreamYard community, YouTube community that I'm involved in right now.
Right.
But I also want to let you know that anything that you guys are offering or you guys are trying to, reach out, please let me know so I can share it on this podcast or
Hmm.
share it on the Really Charlie, you know, Facebook group, so it
Right.
gets out there in another way. But I also think that social media is definitely a way to reach out to people, especially
Well, I
parents.
well I can tell you this, that in the summer we're going to um we also do pay the youth to work, so we do subsidized employment, but it's not for the 18 and over youth, the out of school youth, whether they graduated or not. We can work on the education piece if we have to. But if they're out of school, we have 7 slots open for them to work for 20 hours for 5 weeks, and no, 6 weeks, and we can put them into a job, into a placement of somebody who's willing to take a chance on some of our youth. You'll be surprised. They're very smart young people, that are hard workers and want to work. And we pay them for 20 hours for those weeks, each week. And we ask you to use that as their time of probation. So that way the place can hire them full time. I mean, we've done that and been very successful with other places. So if there's anyone out there that has a business or manages a business or anything, that can hire young people in order to change their life,
Hmm.
um, they can just give me a call, or reach if they could reach out to you. Get my number. I don't want to put it on the air, but
All right.
um, I can. It would be a great opportunity for our youth to have a job, that not just a job, because my definition of a job is just over broke, but something that is a career, something that is sustainable for them for a lifetime.
What's the address? Could you give me that address?
Um, 376 Nash Road, New Bedford.
Do you have
So
a
we are,
business line?
yep, 508 742.
Wait, slow down, lady. I'm only joking. Good. 508
742
742
6971.
6971.
And that's our office number. Sometimes we're not there because we're out in the community. Um, and right now, I think the biggest thing is we're trying to help do vaccine education for our young people as well. So,
Okay, that's good. I didn't even put the. So that's the Hope Collaborative.
New Bedford Shannon. It's called New Bedford Shannon.
You think you know everything? I can't believe it. Crazy.
I know, it's terrible.
All right. So the I want to kind of go back in time a little bit here, and I know you've done a lot of things, did a lot of things at the church, um, and some of those programs you definitely had probably, from what I can gather, 10 to 20 kids involved in your youth program at the church. That time, those programs, has it helped you? Has it allowed you? Well, they actually probably were yours, but did you bring those programs over to the New Bedford Shannon with you? You know.
I I did. A lot of the life skills and personal development activities that we did with the youth, I did carry over to New Bedford Shannon because they worked. So if it works, you kind of keep using it. I just tweak it based off of the generation. Um, so I'm still working with the church.
Yep.
Um, I still meet with a group of youth. We were meeting remotely. They didn't like that, so I made sure I was fully vaccinated, and we're going to start meeting in person. Um, I also was the director of the dance group that was in the parade every year,
Yep.
um, and was the youth council advisor for the Naacp New Bedford branch for probably 14 years, a long time.
Wow.
So I think I've seen and worked with, I don't know how many kids, a lot, even your own
Yep.
daughter. So, and when I look back at some of them, like Kendall Ramus, Corday Silva, um, Shane, like I said, Giovanni Sequeira, there's so many of them. Um, I look at them in awe and with pride because it's not about what I did, it's the work that they did.
Yep.
But just spending the time getting to know the youth and helping them along the way in different aspects of their life. And now that they're grown, sometimes when they get older, they forget you. You think they forget you because you don't see
Yeah.
them, you know. Um, but I look at all of them, Jarrell Burgo. I'm just proud of every single young person that I have been able to reach out to and touch. And I always hope that there's something there that I left with them that helped them grow in their
And
life.
uh, working with, Upward Bound, a lot of years. You invited me
Hmm.
there, able to speak and participate in a lot of a lot of things that you were doing out there. I wish I was more available during that time to kind of be a huge part of it, only because I hear the tremendous stories that I'm hearing now, especially on this podcast, and everyone seems to bring up things like Upward Bound and some of the things that were inspirational to them during that process or during that time. Um, and I didn't realize how old Upward Bound is actually, and how many it goes back. Even
1967, 60,
yeah,
yeah, 66, 67.
which is
Um,
a credit to the countless administrators that come through. And once a new boss comes in, they're always thinking of changes and cuts, and it's
yeah,
so amazing that it was allowed to maintain, for decades.
yeah.
Um, so
It is a great program. I think that's what a lot of our youth need is not just an upward bound but I think our city needs transformative justice, right? So with
mhm.
Upward Bound, that's a transformative program. It transforms people's lives. It helps them see where their future is. It helps them understand what they want, their goals, how to achieve them. And if we had more of a transformative justice system here in New Bedford, we wouldn't have to worry about so many juvenile court cases, or we wouldn't have to worry about kids out there on the street hustling, selling, killing, stabbing, shooting. We wouldn't have to worry about any of that because we would have a place for them to go and get the help that they need, because our kids are doing what they do because they're angry. They're doing what they do because they're hungry. They're doing what
Yeah,
they do because they're traumatized by whatever it is that's going on in their life. Um, they're not out there because they want to be, they're out there because they have to be. But if we had a system or a center that enabled them to be able to finish their education on the pace that they can, because not everybody learns the same way,
Yeah.
um, finish their education properly, and then maybe move on to a higher education or a trade or even a bridge program that bridges that gap. And so that they can go on to be doctors, carpenters, electricians, lawyers, teachers, those things that we need, the black and brown population in those fields, that could come from our youth. But we have to have the ability and the resources and the understanding of what that looks like. It doesn't look like being put behind bars. It looks like, learning how to stay from behind them.
Well, you with you mentioning all that, I want you to kind of pay attention to the West End Empowerment Center that's coming. That's you know being inspired by Rick Reese. You know, I don't know if you've seen that podcast, but that was on.
Uh,
If you have an opportunity to just look at that podcast and check it out, because that is someone, and that is actually a venue that's going to actually be able to help out in all those areas that you talked about.
mhm.
And what's going to need to happen is that eventually, a board is going to be, needed to be formed, and then that whole facility is going to be turned over to the board, because people from outside our area are coming in here and they want to fund an empowerment center just so New Bedford can benefit for it.
Mhm.
And so when you're talking about all these things, there's so much that this one center can offer. And right now they're thinking about a couple of locations in the West End area along Kempton Street. Um, and one of the sites you're talking about is the Magnet Park area where the softball field is, or the baseball field, or just that grassy area that's
Mhm.
untouched. So when you have time, just look at that. And the dude is a personal friend of mine, and if you need to reach out to
Okay.
him, you can definitely do that, because um, I'm pretty sure that if you two get connected, um, a lot of things that you're looking for, he's looking to provide. So
Right.
you and I will talk off air, and
Okay.
get that connected. Um,
Yeah.
so you talk about Shane Burgo, running for councilor at large for the city of New Bedford.
Mhm.
Somebody that you mentored, someone that you inspired. And over those years, as that gentleman has grown, um, I'm pretty sure you see a lot of things that you try to apply to him, along with you and many other mentors he had. There's one thing that the kid was
Mhm.
a sponge. He was a
Yep.
sponge, and you
Yeah.
see it. You see it now, and
Mhm.
so um, you get young men like that. That clearly shows that what you are doing and many others is proof in the pudding that it works. Now, um, correct me if you're wrong. Are you part of the youth program at NAACP?
Not anymore.
Okay.
I'm not the. I gotta put my phone on do not disturb. I'm not the youth council advisor anymore. I am now the vice president of the NAACP. Um, so that doesn't give me much clout. So we all know what the vice president means, right?
Yeah, yeah. So,
So, but yeah, I do not. I haven't. It's hard. It's been. I gave it up 2 years ago, almost 2.5 years ago, and that was probably one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do. Um,
okay,
but I still keep it those kids. But yeah.
good. Is our friend Dawn Andrews sending some love to you,
Hey, Dawn,
and
my sister.
she definitely, she's another amazing person. Great story in herself, and I'm nice to see you, Don. Take um, so we um, I've known you to be involved in the Cape Verdean parade committee, recognition committee, mainly the parade committee, right? And so
Yes.
you've been doing that a lot, and
Mhm.
there's a lack of understanding what's involved with the Cape Verdean parade committee, and with me being there a couple of years, I was able to see, from A to Z what goes on, and it definitely it's an eye opener. It's an eye opener
Mhm.
because you know that along that parade route, there's people always seem to talk from the peanut gallery,
Mhm.
and they seem to always have the right answers for the Cape Verdean parade committee. But the doors are always open. The doors
Right.
are always open for that parade committee. Um, and so,
Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's not, people see the parade, it lasts a couple of hours and they think that's the end of it. But um we stopped planning the parade the year before. So like right now we're planning for next year because this year we can't do a parade, but we will be doing something. So please stay tuned.
mhm,
I would let Diane Gomes speak on that because she is the chairperson of that committee, and I don't want to speak out of turn. So, but there is something that will be happening. But just to plan the parade for next year, we have to start now. Drum corps, it costs money. Parades are expensive. We have to pay for the entertainment, the drum corps that come in, the different groups that come in, even the local groups. We have to give them something for their time and their talent. Um, so it's not just about getting a bunch of people together. It's about raising money. It's about making sure that we have, when Diane and I, and sometimes Norma, we do the parade lineup. And we have to make sure that we don't have two drum corps back to back. We got to make sure that each parade division is separated um, by music and make sure there's music in every part of the parade. So it's not even just about, okay, everybody get together, line up. It's about making sure it's organized, it's planned correctly, and we have to make sure that we have the Cape Verdean recognition. That's the whole point, the recognition of the Cape Verdean culture in the
yeah,
parade. It's not the Fourth of July parade. It's the Cape Verdean Recognition Parade that happens around the 4th of July. But the Cape Verdean Independence Day is July 5th.
yeah.
So,
Sometimes I remember sitting down and we were informed that the Cape Verdean parade was not a official parade, but it seems like there's a lot of official events going around during that time of the parade.
mhm.
People started jumping on things around it, and all of a sudden there's I'm not going to mention any events, but you see the events, you know
Mhm.
the events
Yeah,
as much
which
as
changes parade routes and which interferes with some of that, but we make do because we have to plan properly. Um,
yeah,
but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of getting permits, making sure things are set up. It takes a whole team of people, and we welcome anybody to be on the committee. Um, Picking the parade marshal. I know there's a lot of criticism around choosing the parade marshal, but that's done by the board, um, which is the Cape Verdean Recognition um, Committee itself. And the parade committee, they can make recommendations, but they don't choose. The board chooses, and it's based off of the work that you've done in the community. There's a lot of people that I would like to see as a parade marshal. Dorothy Lopes, for instance, who's been a pillar in this community for many, many years, um, over 50 years. And I would love to see her as a parade marshal, but it's a matter of somebody nominating. So, people will say, well, how come you didn't put this person? Well, how come you didn't nominate them? You have to write something up and, you know, have that time to nominate. You have to nominate the person and say why this person should be a parade marshal
So
for
why don't
that
you do
parade.
it?
I know. I haven't had time, but I have to do it. I needed help, but from other people, and I did ask for that help, and I didn't get it, so I couldn't. Like, I don't know everything because when she was younger, I was not born, so I needed people that were able to give that information.
Mm,
Um, because I don't want to celebrate somebody when they're gone. I rather celebrate them while they're here. So but there
that's
are a lot of different um, elders in our community that deserve the recognition for everything that they've done in the Cape Verdean community. I could name countless people: Wayne Ramus, June Pina. These are all older people now, but they've done so much. Ron Barboza. I
yeah.
mean, there's so many that when we were younger, those were the people that were our village.
Exactly. And I like that comment you made about want to praise them while they're alive, and that's one thing I say. I'm doing this podcast so I can give people their flowers while they're standing, and there is so many people. There's doing this podcast on sometimes 2 3 times a week, and there's a lot of blessed people in this area that I'm trying to bring out. And I'm going outside the area too. So I know how it is for you guys, especially when you get a bunch of names thrown at you. It's and you have to have an explanation of why, or make a decision, this person over that person. And
Hmm.
you're never gonna make everybody happy. But
Right.
that shouldn't discourage you, because the next year is another year. Or there's other ways to do it. And I remember selecting, trying to be part of a couple of them, and then we lucked out because things were decided unanimously on particular people that were marshals. It was kind of like a slam dunk,
Hmm.
so that made it easier those 2 years. But some years it's not going to be hard. They might have to pick someone like Don Andrews or Renee Ledbetter. So now you have a thing that you're looking at and you're saying, wow, I want to pick Don for this. I want to pick Renee because of this. And you go back and forth, and it becomes. But you have to make that decision as a committee. And
Right.
I bring up that committee only to praise you and everyone else that's been involved over the years. That
Thank you.
it's it's a, sometimes it's it can be
Well,
thankless, but it is appreciated.
yeah, it is it's thankless at times, but it's very rewarding. And it's almost like at the end of the parade, it's like a sigh of relief. Um, and the beginning of the parade is always, like tension and pressure and stress. And because we want it to go off okay. We don't want any glitches, and you know, it's just important that everything happen in its the right place, because when they get down to the reviewing stand, if that book is not correct, then people are not around announced correctly.
Yeah.
So that's why we ask people to register in advance and not the day of, because it makes our life a lot easier.
Sure
So,
does.
and I really miss, like, it's been with COVID for the last year and a few months, missing out on everything. Just church. I mean, that was a big part of my life. It still is. It's just not physically. The parade, the 4th of July fireworks, the different events, the scholarship breakfasts, dinners, lunches. I mean, the graduations. This generation, 2020 and 2021 graduates, um, they're really resilient young people. If you think
Yeah.
about everything that's happened within the past year or so, they've had to give up so much, but they still kept going. Um, so when we sit there and look at these young people and say, I don't know what's wrong with these kids, next time you see a young person, why don't you just say to them, thank you for being so resilient and
Yes.
and strong and getting through this.
Absolutely.
Um, so it's been hard for a lot of these young people. My daughter got married last year, and that was hard. To now you have to cut the guest list down. She got married outside, and so the whole family couldn't be together um, on a very special day. So it's been difficult for everybody, I think, with all the funerals that we can't go to. The wakes you couldn't say goodbye to your loved ones. So it's been a lot, but it's been a lot of good as well. I think a lot of good have has come out of COVID because now people are communicating more. Um, and I think the value of life and the value of, just love has, well, for me, has become apparent. And it's something that I know that I need to do in my life, make sure that I'm healthy enough to be around for my grandchildren. I have one. I only have one. Um, but hopefully, with 5 kids, you would think I'd have a little bit more than one by now,
Mm-hmm.
but I only have one. And so I just help bring, shed light to my ability to take care of my health, make sure that I am doing the best I can to love everyone that I come in contact with.
That's good. The Don Andrews said yes. Renee deserves recognition. She has her hands in so much of our community, our church, our children, and elderly. I commend her and admire her dedication. And most
Thank you,
people that,
sister.
yeah, most people, almost everybody that knows you, kind of have the same regard for you, that same regard for you. And, so I'm glad I could recognize you for a little bit, for a little over, about an hour. And with that being said, I ask all my guests, who would you like to see on a Really Charlie podcast?
Who would I like to see? I think I would like to see. Do you just do one person at a time, or
No, it could be,
no?
I can have up to 10 people on this podcast, but
Okay,
most of the time I try to bring it to four. That way it be, you know, so people can pay attention. And,
right.
and we, you know,
I I think I would like to see people like I mentioned, like Wayne Ramus, um, who's worked a lot in the community. The old committee that put together the bike. Do you remember the
yep,
bike-a-thon we would
the
do?
bike ride, yep.
Right.
Uh,
And I think that entailed like Wayne Ramus, June Pino. I know she's not that well. Or maybe even Dorothy Lope. She's kind of tech savvy right now.
Yeah, yeah,
But,
yeah,
a lot of our older people are kind of tech savvy right now. But I would like to see some of the people, the older generation that we had to look up to help give some advice to some of our Generation Ys, Generation
true.
Zs, because they have a lot
Yeah,
of wisdom, they have a lot to share. So
yeah. I'm definitely gonna do that. I'll reach out to them, and I know I can get access to Wayne. I have to talk to family and friends about reaching out to Dorothy, and
I could text you her number.
okay. And I haven't talked to June in a long time, so
Yeah. And then we could talk about that offline too.
oh, okay. Um, so we got about 4 minutes. What would you like to end? What's your final words for the podcast?
I just I think for me, going through this last year, just seeing what's valuable, what's important, all I want to say is that, not being able to go to church has really been, and it's not that it's not open, it's just that I haven't been comfortable. So that's been a big challenge for me. And if there's anyone um, that comes from Our Lady of Assumption, I mean, we're losing people. We lost a lot of people to death this year.
Hmm.
We're losing parishioners. And we don't want our church to fail because it's the first Cape Verdean church in North America.
Yeah.
Um, and it's the only Cape Verdean Catholic church in this area. And try to go by and visit, try to go back and visit um, whenever you can, because our older people are getting older and they're not getting any younger, and we need more of our generation and younger to step up and kind of take the reins so that way our church doesn't fall. We lost a lot of things like the parade to the cemetery on Memorial Day. We've lost a lot of things, and maybe one day next year we can get those things back, but we need young people that have energy and that can do it, that have the ability to get these things back up and running. Because we keep saying there's nothing here for our kids, but there's everything here for our kids because we're here. We just have to be willing to do the work.
True. True. Well,
But thank you for having me on your podcast. I think I'm one of your biggest fans.
thank you.
You have been inspiration to a lot of young black men, and that's not everyone can't say that.
Thank
Um, because like they say, not all skin folk are kinfolk.
you. Hmm.
um, so I really appreciate what you do as well. So thank you.
I I really appreciate it, and I'm your number one fan. Definitely trying to get get the word out for people that don't know you, and know that I said you're one of the best advocates for the city when it comes to youth, and I really mean that.
Thank you.
So continue to do what you're doing, and we will definitely stay in touch. Anything that you have that you're trying to offer or get out to the community, just let me know so I could at least copy, something that you're presenting to the community, on the Facebook page, and get that message out through my followers. Right now we're
Okay.
at the 800 and probably 17 people. That's a lot of people. So if I can get a message out to them, I really appreciate it.
Okay.
If you
Thank you.
just share it. And look, this is probably the first time in our life that you haven't swore at me. You know, so
Nope. Not out loud.
so
No.
all right. And actually, I thought I was gonna say a few stories about Mark Lopes, but I'm gonna leave that for another day.
My
And
brother, I miss my
yeah,
brother. Yep.
yes, and I wanted to share a few stories about him, but we're gonna say that for the next time.
Okay.
Renee, God bless, and
You
continue
too.
to do what you're doing. If you need me, you know where to reach me.
All right. Thank you. Good night,
All right.
everybody.
Yeah, all right. Thank you. Another great guest I have. Had two great shows, two great podcasts, and I say that a lot, but I don't do nothing other than bring great people to you. I bring these people to you so you can listen and learn, and they can listen and learn from you in your comment section, because you do bring out the best in them. You bring out those questions, you bring out those comments, whether they're just showing, some gratitude for the person that's speaking. It's you guys are doing a lot by listening and viewing, and my guests are actually appreciate this, because what we're doing is we're giving them their flowers while they're standing. We're giving them the praise that they deserve, because they haven't just been doing this week. They've been doing it for years. They've been doing it for decades. And they continue to reach out to your family, my family, your friends, my friends, or just our city. They're just trying to reach out and do the best thing, showing some humanity. And that's what I'm trying to do on this podcast, is just do the best we can. I want you guys to continue to support a lot of local podcasts and shows. The Wind Down podcast on WNB1. Whether it's their sports program. With Brian Magnet, Stevie Lopes, Derek Consatio, Straight Talk. Definitely continue to support those people. We got Michael Consatio with the Sports Corner. Justin Montero, who's out there, he's doing his thing, he's trying to produce and get the material out there. So there's a lot. There's Mike Herring and Mika out there in Fall River doing their thing, trying to get stories out there. And they're absorbing a lot. They're absorbing a lot of bullets thrown their way, um, because they're talking about some things, some taboo things that just get people in a frenzy, But as we see, regardless of what you throw at Michael Herron, he's every week, every day, the man is still standing. The man is still gonna be there. And that's what I like about his podcast. There's another one with Paul Santos Live, with Chops Turner, and he brings on Chris Santos, and they talk sports, and continue to support these people, and just kind of listen to the subject matter, and goes a long way. You're on social media already, so why not tune in to some of the great things that are going on virtually, right in your backyard. All right, everyone, mask those beautiful faces and sanitize. Wash your hands. Stay safe. Continue to be beautiful. Continue to be blessed, and stay blessed. Love you guys, and I'll see you on Monday with another Really Charlie podcast with PJ Pina from Hyannis, Mass. Thank you. And good night, everyone. Good night, Dawn. I see your comment on the bottom.